What's the strongest Pokemon you can choose in every Pokemon game? And you can't choose Mewtwo in every single one, even though he is in technically every single one, apart from Legends Arceus. Well, Smith Plays Pokemon has got the answer for us here today. I love these videos. I love statistical analysis. The numbers, they get me so excited. Let's go.
What do Mewtwo, Tyranitar, and Metagross all have in common?
They all lose to Mega Gyarados.
Despite being insanely strong Pokemon, none of them are on today's lists as—
Oh, well, what a stupid intro. Yeah, of course they're not on today's list. What a really stupid intro. No one would say that, Daniel. No one would say that Mewtwo is the strongest in every single game because that would be an idiot saying that, which is why I definitely edited that out.
they can't be caught until after you beat the game. Today, we're going to be looking at the best Pokemon to use for a playthrough in every single mainline game, starting with Generation 1's Red and Blue. Now for each—
I wonder if we're gonna get like a single stage Pokemon or like a non-evolved Pokemon. Wouldn't that be cool? Wouldn't that be fun? Like you don't evolve it like Scyther. You could technically evolve Scyther, but it won't actually change the base stat total. It'll change the stat distribution, but it won't change the total. Did you ever notice that Scizor has a 500 base stats and so does Scyther? Probably didn't notice that until now, did you?
each game, we're going to consider a few options before landing on the top Pokemon. And for Generation 1, Nidoking is a great place to start.
Oh yeah, no, of course, Nidoking is the speedrun master of this game. Nidoking is the man. It's the guy. Sorry, Nidoqueen, I love you too. In fact, I kind of like Nidoqueen a little bit more, but you're just not the guy.
Patterrz can be caught on Route 22 before the first gym and is instantly useful, because while it doesn't do much against Brock, its level 8 Horn Attack is one of the strongest moves available at this point in the game.
Doesn't really do much against Misty either. Well, actually, if you don't evolve it, then it can. If you evolve it, it's dying in record time.
This makes it an easy carry through level 16, where it evolves into Nidorino. And with a little help from Gen 1's early Moonstone—
Never mind, I'm wrong again. Yep, you're supposed to evolve it in the second gym. Why wouldn't you evolve it in the second gym? It just makes it way stronger. It would be stupid not to evolve it as soon as you can, wouldn't it?
the player is then able to instantly evolve it into the King. And this is, of course, the line's biggest claim to fame. Such an early final evolution allows you to dominate the pitiful base stats of first stage evolutions while you Mega Punch and thrash your way through the early part of the game.
The funny thing is, the Nidoking isn't really that good of a Pokemon. He just looks sick, and people think that he's great because you get something relatively strong earlier on, so people are just like, oh, Nidoking's like the GOAT. He's like the greatest of all time. When you could just get Kadabra in the same area, which is like super strong and way cooler, actually. No, I like both of them. I can't pit them against each other. They're my children.
Sure, Nidoking's ground type is bad for the second gym as well, but who cares when you're sending every Rattata and Caterpie in sight straight to the Pokemon Tower? And even as the game continues, Nidoking—
Oh, we're killing them now. Okay, yeah, sure.
keep up this power as it gains access to moves like Bubble Beam, Surf, Body Slam, Ice Beam, Rock Slide, Earthquake, and Fire Blast. It's for—
You get Earthquake by the 7th gym? How do you do? I thought you get Earthquake from the 8th gym. How do you get it by the 2nd gym?
these reasons and more that people love to tout Nidoking as the best Pokemon. But I think it's ultimately outclassed by two other Pokemon. Nidoking—
Gyarados. Has to be Gyarados.
are lacking, and its stats hold it back from being an utterly dominant force in the late game, which is
Like
not
Alakazam.
something the Abra line ever has to worry about. Located on Route 24, Abra can be caught before the second gym, where it—
I love the original Gen 1 Abra line. Is this just me? I need to ask this because I've never asked this to anyone ever before, so this is a really good opportunity. Does Abra look chubby in Generation 1 to you? Or is it just like a trick of the eye? Or is it just his arms? Because it looks like he's resting his hands on his belly like that. It looks like he's doing that. And I love that. I love Abra's design in this. Kadabra is one of my favorite Pokemon of all time. I used to solo run Red and Blue with just Kadabra. Didn't evolve it because while I had friends, didn't have a link cable.
before the second gym, where it only needs to hit level 16 before evolving into Kadabra. Nidoking's
Yes.
supremacists love to go on about Nidoking's great stats of 92 attack and 85 speed, and while that
For sure. Chortling I am at those stats. Guffawing, actually.
is great for the early game, it's completely outclassed by Kadabra's 105 speed and 120 special.
Yeah, that's... Wow, 30 defense. Goodness me.
Look, guys, this isn't groundbreaking material. Gen 1 Abra line is really good, but I do think that one little fact is often forgot about. Of course, this line has also got the benefit of being a psychic type in Gen 1, so essentially no weakness.
What is that thing on his head in the original back sprite? I never understood what it was. I mean, he has a really ugly back sprite, but I love him. He just holds up his spoon and you zap with the spoon, and that's all you need to do. Just spoon zap the whole game.
No types that resist it, but it's that 120 special stat that acts as both offense and defense in Gen 1 that really makes it that much more crazy. Now, for the purpose of this video, we are going to consider trade evolutions as they are a legal and valid part of the game. And while
although I assume that most people that were playing Pokemon for the first time, especially back in the Generation 1 days, couldn't trade. Either you didn't have someone that you knew that had the games, or you did and you didn't have a link cable, or you had a link cable and you were just too stupid to figure out how it worked because you're 5 years old. And what you plug them into, and then what do? You go at the Pokemon Center? How are we supposed to figure that one out?
Dabra is probably good enough to be here on its own. Alakazam is undoubtedly top tier. With nothing but Psychic, its 135 special stat is able to just mow through the rest of the game. That's just
yeah, literally, it destroys the entire game. Oh, that's a bad freeze frame to pause on. I'm really sorry, Smith.
All it does, it lands really good Psychics, and that's enough to make it in the top tier consideration. But there is one Pokemon that combines both the best of Alakazam and Nidoking. Now, it's also worth mentioning that we've already done a video ranking the best starters of every playthrough, so we're not considering them for this list, but even if we were, Charmander, Bulbasaur, and Squirtle are all utterly outclassed by Gyarados. No. Just after the first gym, Magikarp can be picked up for 500 coins, and upon reaching level 20, it hits its final stage. Now,
it's funny that you have to kind of hard carry the weaker form of both of those Pokemon before they unleash their true potential. With Abra and with Magikarp, they both don't do anything until you evolve them, then they sweep the entire game.
Because Gyarados is in nearly every single game, its generational differences have made it very easy to track, where it's almost like a different Pokemon game to game. And Gen 1 Gyarados is a particularly special breed. Because
and that sprite just goes so incredibly fantastical.
Gyarados only has a special attack stat of 60 in later games. Gen 1 Gyarados only has a single special stat, which is used to calculate
is it 100?
Both attack and defense. And Gyarados was blessed as its single special stat is 100.
It is. I did not know that.
Would later go on to just become its special defense. And this is what makes Gen 1 Gyarados particularly monstrous.
Oh my god, it's 580 base stat total overall. That is ludicrous. That is redonkulous.
As its effective Gen 1 base stat is 580.
That is legendary level.
Higher base stat than the Paradox Pokemon from Gen 9 and
Fluttermane,
nearly rivaling pseudo-legendaries.
And no one can even use Dragonite. See, no one can use Dragonite. Why do they make it evolve at level 55? What's it all about, Bo?
And so it's this 125 attack, 100 special that allows it to be such a crazy mixed attacker. While even its early Bite and Water Gun do solid damage, it can pick up Bubble Beam after Misty and Body Slam from the SS Anne to really come online. Then in the mid-game, it picks up Thunderbolt, Surf, and Ice Beam, while
its coverage is ludicrous. Bolt Beam is pretty much all you need. You stack on some Surf with that, and that's it. You just beat the game.
It can even make great use of Hyper Beam and Fire Blast. It's got the
oh, true, because the way the Hyper Beam works in it is you blast someone with it, and they go down, and then it's like, oh, okay, I can just blast you again now. I can just keep on blasting. It's great.
Diverse learn set of Nidoking, which in my opinion makes it more useful than Alakazam. And despite being slower, it more than makes up for this with nearly the same amount of physical attack as Alakazam. But, you know, significantly more bulk. People often say that Gen 1 Alakazam is the scariest Pokemon to fight and therefore is the best to use. But it's Gyarados that is probably the best Pokemon to fight Alakazam with. And while Nidoking and Alakazam are incredible, I think it's Gyarados that is deserving of the #1 spot for Pokemon Red and Blue. And this list is not going to change for Pokemon Yellow. While Nidoking does get slightly better as its double kick makes it really useful against Brock, that is the only notable change, and it's just not enough to make it better than Gyarados or Alakazam. Now in Generation 2, Gyarados...
Okay, I'm gonna make the guess that Gyarados is still on the board for Generation 2. It just seems to make sense. What else is gonna be on the board? Like Tyranitar? They're not gonna use the starters in this. I can't even think like Ampharos. Is Ampharos really gonna be on there? I mean, it's really only good with electric type moves, and then you have the immunities. Its moveset is not really that diverse. Gyarados is just the peak.
Gyarados would see a loss of 40 special attack and a much worse TM library. This would nerf it enough to take it out of the running for...
Never mind, I'm wrong. Again, I need to stop making predictions. I'm gonna keep making predictions, but I need to stop because I keep getting them wrong.
Gold and Silver. One of the game's best, however, is Ampharos.
Oh my god, there's no way! People are gonna say this is pre-watched. People are gonna say, oh, you watched this ahead of time, and then you just knew what to say in the backwards way. There's no... I guess am I? Wait, no. Am I just bad at this game?
Patterrz. Now, as longtime players, we've spent years learning this game, and when we started, it did feel like a new language. And if you're looking to learn a real language, today's sponsor,
baby!
You get there way faster.
No way, really?
Is currently hosting a summer sale, providing a 96% discount for lifetime access to all languages. Learning a language is just like Pokemon types. Right now, I'm an English type, but if you give me the Monly app, I can evolve and gain any one of their 41 secondary foreign languages. And
what about
the app has
Nihongo?
access to 41 languages from 33 native languages, resulting
What?
in a total of 1,320
Nihongo Koko desu.
language combinations. Comparatively, Pokemon just has 171 type combos. And Monly is great because it gives you practical lessons which actually help you in real life.
I like how he's integrating the ad with the actual, he's just like, no, guys, don't skip the ad. Like, there's Pokemon in this.
Plus, the lessons are from fluent speakers to help ensure authenticity. The app also uses awesome quizzes and daily lessons to ensure an engaging and productive learning experience. And it helps you learn the fast way, so you don't spend years learning it like I had to learn the Pokemon type chart. You can access this insane 96% sale
96% off for lifetime access?
Subscription. So
Wait, that's so much for lifetime. Wait, so it's not a subscription? Oh my god, it's not a subscription. Wait, that actually, hold on, that actually sounds kind of goated. Wait, for a lifetime access. Oh my goodness gracious me. Okay, I mean, that's pretty good. That's ridiculous.
They're now to get a great deal. And now let's look at our first Johto Pokemon. Available just after beating Fall.
I can't believe it was actually Ampharos. I felt like it wouldn't be because it just doesn't have the move variety required.
34. Morepat is a great early electric type, which gets its first evolution in just before the second gym. Electric is enough to make easy work of Bugsy, and Thunderwave at 18 is incredibly useful against Whitney's Miltank. Ampharos gets Fire Punch and Iron Tail via TM, and this set is enough to make it useful in every other major fight.
All right, I get it.
Shines against leaders Price and Claire, and Electric Fire is immensely useful through the E4. It plays an especially useful role against Champion Lance's 3 vulnerable.
Damn! Did that crit matter? Because I feel like Ampharos doesn't have very good physical attack.
And overall, it's just got the makings of one of the most reliable teammates in Gold and Silver. And while it is a top-tier Pokemon for the games it exists in, Morepat is only available for Gold and Silver, where its absence in Crystal has been felt echoing throughout time since 2001.
Yeah, that doesn't really make much sense. Why would you take away the cool new electric type that is supposed to be in the early games so you get something different and get something from the new generation? Why would you remove that? It's also weird that in Crystal they added a patch of grass outside Violet City that just has Growlithe. I mean, listen, as a Growlithe enjoyer myself, like, I am not going to complain about that one bit, but I just think it's a little strange. I mean, no, you can keep it. It's fine. Put the Morepat back in, though. The game's like 23 years old. Never mind.
While it is overall amazing, even in the confines of Gold and Silver, it's just not strong enough to hang with the top tier of Pokemon.
Okay.
Which is a Pokemon often slept on and easily has the best early game in all of Johto. And that's largely...
Oh, I guess, yeah. Flying Gym, Normal Gym. You've got the... Oh my god, wait, it is amazing. Flying Gym, Bug Gym, Normal Gym. Then in the Ghost Gym, you'll have access to Ground-type moves. And in second generation, Ghost-type is physical. So it'll hit you on the physical side, not the special side. Wow, that is really good. And then Chuck's gym will break it in half, and then Jasmine's gym will break it in half, and then the early game is really good though.
In part to Rock Ground being the perfect matchup against the first 4 gyms. Faulkner's Mudslot makes the first gym not a pure wash, but with Rock Throw at level 11, Geodude is easily one of your best options. And with Scyther's 4x Rock weakness, Geodude is then able to solo Bugsy. It's also one of the best.
Damn, that Scyther got a jump scare when he saw those rocks come out.
Pokemon for
I also love Geodude's sprites in the game. He's so sick. He's just like, yeah. And he always kind of like, yeah. Like, that's so cool.
Fighting Whitney, as it resists Stomp and Rollout and can break up Rollout chains with the Dig TM. And of course, great as ground against Morty's team of 4 poison types. And while its late game is not quite this dominant, it still goes on to be an incredible Pokemon.
I mean, Golem is always a good Pokemon to have in your team. You're always going to need some good rock and ground type moves, especially ground. Very important.
Other than fighting specialists Chuck and Bruno, Golem has something to do in every single major fight. But unfortunately, not even such a consistent performance is enough to match up with the likes of Gen 2 Alakazam.
All right, here we go. Alakazam again.
Which is arguably the best Gen 2 Pokemon. So Abra can be first acquired in Goldenrod City, and...
Oh, look at him. He's so... Abra is one of the cutest Pokemon. I feel like it's underrated how cute Abra is. He's just a sleepy guy. Just look at this fella. He just wants to take a bit of a kip.
Kadabra does not have a good matchup against Whitney, but once you hit the 4th gym, this thing comes online and pretty much solos the rest of the game. And that is simply due to the 3 element.
I think I've heard the words come online more in this video than I have in the past like 3 years. That's such a cool phrase. Come online. Oh yeah, we're powering this bad boy up now, yeah.
Mental punches being available for purchase in Goldenrod. So
Can I just say, it's also very awesome that Smith comments on the videos after I react to them too. I appreciate that he allows me to react to them. It's really cool that he allows me to do this. A lot of people, you don't have to do this. Like, I am essentially taking someone's video in its entirety. I understand that. I'm very much well aware of that. So I really appreciate anyone that gives me permission to be able to do this. It's awesome.
Gen 2 has no physical special splits, and even a fresh Abra can slap on Fire, Ice, and Thunder Punch and go berserk with its 105 special. And
oh, that's in Generation 3 too.
Kadabra's 120 special attack is no longer its special defense, it's still incredible with such great coverage. And
what's its special defense in Generation 2? It can't be that. It has to be like 110, surely. Oh, never mind. They put it down to 85. Wow, they really nerfed that. Okay, and then they increased it in Generation 6. Mega Alakazam, Christ almighty, Mega Alakazam, what is going on with you? It is really funny that Mega Alakazam, wait a minute, Mega Alakazam only gets a 90 base power or base stat buff in Generation 6, which is weird. I didn't know that. And then from Generation 7, Mega Alakazam, I assume, gets more of a buff? Yeah, it gets more of a buff after that. That is so strange. It is the only Mega Evolution I think that I can remember that only gets a 90 base power buff when it Mega Evolves, rather than most people getting 100. I mean, that's what I thought they all did. I thought they all got 100, but apparently not.
And obviously, if you're fortunate enough to be able to trade, Alakazam is just in a tier of its own. With all 3 punches and Psychic, there is not a single Pokemon in the game that can resist it. Super effective against 10 of 17 types. And from Morty to Elite 4 Bruno, Alakazam can land super effective damage on every single League Pokemon.
I just realized that the Psybeam, look at the Psybeam. If you look at the Psybeam animation,
and from Morty,
the Psybeam animation is Little Hoop
for Bruno,
and then the Psychic animation is slightly bigger Hoop.
Can land super effective damage on every single League Pokemon besides Kingdra. It's
level 1. Oh, it's huge. I always pop off when I say level 1.
Also one of the few Pokemon that can sweep Lance without over leveling. So while I am a Gen 2 Geodude supremacist, I can't really ignore how good Alakazam is. But there is one other Pokemon that is able to challenge Alakazam's crown. And
what is it? It's not Miltank. It's not Tyranitar. It's not going to be Dragonite. It's not going to be Pseudo Legendary. What? It's not going to be one of the stars. It's not Ampharos. It's not Gyarados. What could it be?
That, ladies and gentlemen, is Gengar. Now,
Gengar. I didn't think the Gengar would be on this because in Generation 2, Ghost is physical and so is Poison. So its 2 stabs are physical, whereas Alakazam just goes hog wild crazy with its plus stab boosted massive special attack.
Gengar pretty much shares its dominance in Gen 2 for the exact same reasons as Alakazam. In this case, only once fully evolved, Gengar is able to get all 3 elemental punches and only has 5 less special attack at 130. Defensively, Ghost type is also quite effective in a generation where a lot of Pokemon are still running just normal.
Oh, the Ghost type does help a lot.
Gastly is available before the first gym, so it's got 2 fights more use and a better matchup against Whitney with Hypnosis, which I would say is arguably its largest selling point over Alakazam. Sure, Gengar's physical Shadow Balls aren't doing a whole lot, but Sleep Utility adds a massive additional benefit to Gengar that Alakazam simply doesn't have.
All right, I'm going to say in Generation 3, we are going to see Gardevoir. That is my guess. I'm not going to get it wrong a third time. There's no way. Generation 3, 100%, it's going to get Gardevoir because you can find it early on in the game. It has that amazing psychic potential. It's super effective against the second gym. It gets Calm Mind. It gets Psychic. It evolves early. Gardevoir is in there.
And while it's not strictly as dominant, I think there is a case to be made that Gengar is better. For this video, I'm giving it to Alakazam, but it is really close, and I'd love to hear what you guys think about on this one.
Nah, Alakazam's got it.
Gen 3, Pokemon Ruby, Sapphire, and Emerald bring in over 100 new Pokemon, and it makes you beg the question, can they surpass the dominance of Gen 1? Well,
Gardevoir.
Maybe. Hoenn was, among many things, the first game to introduce a regional bird that could genuinely cook. Introducing Gutswellow.
So it cooks itself.
Guts is an ability introduced in Gen 3 that raises the user's attack by 1.5 times when the user is burned, poisoned, or paralyzed.
Yeah, I mean, are people really using that in their playthroughs, though?
After the 5th gym, this strategy becomes even more insane with the move Facade. A 70 power normal
Was that a reference to the Facade game? Damn, that thing is old as dick.
that doubles in power when the user is, you guessed it, poisoned, burned, or paralyzed. With its normal
My PC was that an editing error?
when the user is, you guessed it, poisoned, burned, or paralyzed. With
Dude, what the hell happened to my PC there? Did you guys see that? There was a weird noise.
normal typing, Swallow can use Facade, which sees a damage calculation of 70 times 1.5 from Stab, 1.5 from Guts, and 2 times from Facade Boost to now deal 315 power for neutral damage. Guts
That's
Facade
pretty
Swallow
good.
is an absolute nuke, and with high speed, it is one of the most effective Pokemon in the game. But even with this high power, it still has some drawbacks. Facade can't land big damage on Steel, Rock, and Ghost types.
Damn, it did nothing to that Skarmory. I thought it would do at least half since it's
In long
poisoned.
fights with heals, poison damage can take its toll. Despite being strong, it still doesn't always one-shot. And lastly, if Swallow
Yeah, it didn't quite get the one shot there. Very close, Swallow. Good attempt, but not
ever faints
quite.
in battle, you need to reapply the status. And especially in the Elite Four, where you can't actually do so, it's an unreliable strategy. In a lot of ways, it's just easier to pick up a Gyarados, raise it to level 40, and teach it Dragon Dance. All right.
Yeah,
Another instance
sure.
of Gyarados. We'll make this short. Gen 3 Gyarados sees a massive comeback from Gen 2 with its Intimidate ability and Dragon Dance, a move which raises speed and attack by 1 stage. Magikarp can be picked up as early as Dewford Town, but overall, Gyarados is only really one of the better picks for the late game. Without grinding, you won't have it for Brawly, and it's then got a terrible matchup against the Electric 3rd Gym.
And the fact that it's special water type in this generation just really holds it back. I mean, what are you going to really do with Gyarados? Run Bites? Oh, just kidding. Bites also special in this generation. Better wait until Generation 4, buddy. Sorry.
Doesn't even get water moves for the Fire Gym, and even after that, it's a bad user of Surf and really has no moves to make use of its 125 attack.
Yeah, damn, they got a massive
It
nerf.
really only gets good once you have Dragon Dance to set up with. Now, acquired before the 1st gym, Rocks feels like the spiritual successor to the Abra line.
Yes, I knew it was right.
Maxing for a sweeper build, Gardevoir is respectably tanky with 115 special defense, while still holding on to great power with 125 special attack. The line is
Nice.
Psychic at just level 26, and it's arguably one of the best candidates for both the Shockwave and Thunderbolt TM. The line also gets an early Calm Mind, and in a world full of water and poison types, all of this together makes Gardevoir arguably the best Pokemon in the game. Unfortunately,
Yes, finally, I got one right. Wait, what? Unfortunately.
this crown is going to be contested with none other than Alakazam. Why?
God damn it, not this cranium creature
Game
again.
Freak needed to throw the Abra line before the 1st gym is beyond me, but it is a valid option in the game. It is amazing, so let's look at what it does better and worse.
Okay.
To start, we know Alakazam is much faster, and overall I do think speed as a secondary max stat is more useful than high special defense. When you're gonna nuke everything either way, it's a lot better to just guarantee the outspeed, but on the other hand, Alakazam does not learn Thunderbolt and just Shockwave. So
Loser! Idiots! What, you don't know how to Thunderbolt? Get a load of this idiot. He doesn't even know how to bolt yet. No, he waves. Yeah, no, he can wave, but he doesn't even know how to bolt.
unless you're specifically facing
How embarrassing.
a Gyarados or Pelipper, Gardevoir is just much more suited to this water region. Another
Wait, I like Alakazam. Why am I doing
point
this?
for Alakazam, though, is that it's the better user of Calm Mind. Because Alakazam is more frail, it first benefits more from the defense boost, and its great speed just kind of stacks to make it utterly menacing. I also think it's important to note just how bad Kirlia and Ralts are.
They're not that. Oh God! Huh! Wow! That's well. It could be worse, I suppose, right? I mean, could it be worse?
Base stat is 278, which is actually less than a Form 1 starter and even surpassed by Unknown. Just
Crikey.
let that sink in. Now, both take some grind.
What does he want to? Do you want to? Are they at the door? Or is it that door? Do you want to? Sorry, I got told to let this sink in. No, I don't think there's one. I'm sorry, Smith. I don't think there's one at the door.
I need to get their first offensive move, but once Abra hits level 16, it is ready to go to work. Whereas the Ralts line doesn't really start to shine until Gardevoir. So overall, I think the crown is contested, with Gardevoir having a better late game and the Abra line having a better early and mid game. If we
All right, but we are definitely saying that Staraptor is one of the best in Generation 4. Oh, no, they probably won't, will they? It's going to be Garchomp, isn't
If we
it?
had to choose one, we probably have to go with Alakazam. But with Calm Mind, both of them sweep the Elite Four, so there's really not a bad pick. And of course, Alakazam is also going to be one of your best options in Fire Red and Leaf Green.
Oh, we're doing Fire Red Leaf Green as well. All right, well, we're just back to Generation 1 again. I mean, Gyarados probably is going to fall out of favor because of the fact that it got a massive nerf and that Water is still a special-only typing. But hey, we'll see.
Compared to Gen 1, however, Kanto now has a lot more to answer it with, and I just don't think it has the authority that it used to. Being a Psychic Spamming Nuke is still great, but not quite as effective.
God, he even looks more depressed. You can tell that in this generation, he's just not as good. He's old, he's getting on. It's been a few years at this point. It's been like, what, eight years? He's getting a bit tired. You know, he's not holding up his spoons anymore. He's not hyped for it. There's the Dark type now, and Steel exists, and it's just really been difficult for Alakazam lately to hold on to his #1 spot.
On the other hand, Nidoking actually gets a whole lot better. Double Kick makes it extremely useful for Brock, and its TM Learn set is actually somehow even better. Shadow Ball, Brick Break, and Sludge Bomb are massive for it, and Mega Horn as a level up move is arguably its best add. And
how the fuck did that Nidoking outspeed the Alakazam? Even 8 levels ahead? That's
Gyarados
ridiculous.
fancies a pretty similar game that it has in Emerald. Personally, I would say it's between Nidoking, which is more consistent, and Alakazam, which is just really good at one thing. But
we're gonna get Garchomp. Here we go. It's chomping
as
time.
we move into Generation 4, surely we're going to start to see a different
What?
roster. I mean, it's like, why
Nope.
would they just keep throwing the same good Pokemon in?
Here he is. Oh, and he just got better. Oh, this is the physical special split, baby. Who's heard of Waterfall before? But Waterfall isn't until late game, so maybe it won't be that good. It still has that quad weakness. It still has that bad early game, although it does benefit from Bite a lot more, though. Maybe it's got to be Chomp, because Chomp, you can get it so early. You can get it just after the second gym. You can start leveling it up, but you don't really get it until level 48, because Bite and Gebel really aren't that good. But a Dragon and Ground type is a great combination to have in the early game, especially before this Ice type area. It's gonna sweep the whole game, right? Surely Chomp is on this.
Surely. There's got to be something here. Wait, let's see.
Wait.
Starly. Encounter on the very first route.
Yes! I love Starly. This is great.
120 attack, 100 speed, Intimidate, Close
Yes.
Combat, Stab, Return, Brave Bird. Okay,
It's so good.
Ladies and gentlemen, we may have found our cooker. So Starly is really the first bird that feels truly incredible. Sure, Swallow is great, but you don't have to go in here with all this nerd mumbo jumbo talk. You know, it's a bird you can finally just press A and win with. Now, Starly's great against the Grass second gym, fighting 4th at Steel 6, but unfortunately it also does suffer a bit as the first gym is Rock, 7th is Ice, and 8th is Electric. It's great.
I mean, that's what your starter's for, though. The starter hard counters the first gym
Great for
easily.
Bug Elite Four Aaron, but after that, the only other solid league matchup it has is against Cynthia's Roserade. But even though it doesn't absolutely dominate the region, I still feel like it is a top pick. Staraptor is one of those Pokemon that's just always there to help you out, and even if it doesn't have crazy matchups, it's always contributing. And since Abra can be caught at the start of this game, let's do it. Same stats,
Okay.
still has Psychic, still really good. This gen is the introduction of the physical special split, which
Oh, so it actually gets a nerf? Yep, it gets a nerf in this
is
generation.
not good for this guy and its move Tutor Punches. As for a certain Water Dragon, well, Gyarados has never looked so good as it does in Gen 4. So it
Wait a minute, use the Water Dragon. This is not Dry Supply type, you silly goose.
retains the great bulk as it did from its Gen 1 build. It picks up Intimidate and Dragon Dance from Gen 3, and now it can finally make use of its 125 attack with
It's so funny that the footage is from a guy called Magikarp Splash.
water moves. And on top of that, it gets Bite, Ice Fang, Waterfall, Stone Edge, and of course, Earthquake. Its only bad matchup
course.
is against Volkner. And as much as I want Staraptor to be our #1 pick, I just have to look at this data and it's obvious. Apart from Infernape, which again, we're not looking at starters, Gyarados
Chomp.
is the best Pokemon for a playthrough in Diamond, Pearl, and Platinum. And moving over to the
Oh, really? Are we not doing
series'
pseudos?
next remake with Heart Gold and Soul Silver, I really think all the same applies. Alakazam is incredible, but not quite
It's just, this is just the Alakazam Gyarados
as
show.
impressive as its earlier iterations, whereas Gyarados has all the aforementioned benefits. Heracross does, however, get much better in Gen 4. Available in Azalea Town, it's immediately got really strong stats and finally has the moves to use them. It gets
Oh, finally, Persona music and Heracross on the screen at the same time. Oh, bliss.
Start with Headbutt and Aerial Ace, but then learns Brick Break at 19 for Whitney. It can make great use of the Shadow Claw TM for Morty, and it's also got access to Stone Edge, Rock Slide, Earthquake, and Swords Dance through TM. Very
The Haunter is so sad, just killed itself.
Pokemon, but its matchups from here are a bit mediocre. Now, Golem remains very good, and with the addition of the Wide Lens, it sees its inaccurate rock moves significantly improved. Its performance is arguably better than in Gen 2, but despite that, I still think it's outclassed by Gyarados.
The Geodude line being discussed in this video feels very out of place. There's just all these Omega killers at the top. There's Gyarados and Alakazam around every single corner. And then there's like the 5-minute discussion like, but Geodude's like really good though, because Geodude has big muscles and he's like kind of cool and I like him a lot. And he goes, Geodude. And that's like really sick actually, so.
Now from here on out, the game stopped throwing Gyarados into every game, mostly anyway. And so for Gyarados to get the top placement in its home court feels pretty good. I mean, it's got its own like after all. It will continue to be a top tier Pokemon, but new gimmicks and wild encounters will ultimately outclass it. Same can be said for Alakazam. They're two Pokemon that absolutely dominated the first 4 generations, and it's time for us to lay them to rest and move on to Generation 5.
Oh, we're killing them?
Series soft reset.
Gengar, we need to kill them!
Which, oh my gosh, does it ever feel good to move into Black and White? First,
oh, my whole new decks. Not a single non-Generation 5 Pokemon available in this game. What's going to be number 1? Is it gonna be Ferrothorn? Maybe.
Game with nothing
Probably not.
but fresh Pokemon. Unova has got some of the most well-statted, interesting
Amoonguss.
Pokemon in the series, and I'm really excited to dive into this. And I actually want to start with Darmanitan. You get this fire.
God, we love Darmanitan. Huge power. Well, okay, it doesn't actually get huge power, but it is a lot of power.
Just after Gym 3, and its ability Sheer Force is really cool. Sheer Force removes additional effects while adding a 33% power spike. So in the later game, you get Flare Blitz, and while you lose the burn chance, you get a lot stronger of a move. And that's
Oh, yeah. I mean, who needs a burn chance on Flare Blitz?
especially good due to Darmanitan's 140 attack.
Oh, it's ridiculous.
It's actually the highest we've seen so far. It gets access to
Has anyone ever used Zen mode Darmanitan? Like, anyone ever actually used that?
Earthquake, Thief, Stone Edge, Rock Slide, and U-Turn via TM. It's also got setup moves like Belly Drum and Work Up via Level Up. It only really struggles against Clay, and overall just runs through the league.
Dude, if you can outspeed that Excadrill, there's no struggling to be had.
It is still, however, quite frail, and is arguably still outclassed by the game's best starter, Emboar. There's
What?
also Archeops, which tied with Darmanitan at 140 is going to see the highest attack stat of any Pokemon so far.
Why does it have 112 special attack? Like, what are you doing with that, girlie? What are you trying to do? You trying to hurricane, little
On
friend?
top of being great, Archeops is just one of the more fun Pokemon to use in Gen 5. Its
It is fun, but my god, if you get below half health, then it is
base
over.
stats are 567, which puts it on par with Legendary Trios and Gen 9's Paradox forms. But its ability
We keep comparing things to Fluttermane, but nothing can compare to Fluttermane.
defeatists exist to balance this. When Archeops gets down to half health, this cuts its attack and special attack in half, which despite being a drawback, in a playthrough is not that bad. Because it starts every fight with great stats and is really fast, it's actually able to sweep a lot of players. With Acrobatics, it's also got a really solid learn set.
It doesn't get Rock Slide until the end of the game. Oh, Acrobatics is insane. 110 base power because, I mean, people usually aren't giving items to their Pokemon. You got Crunch as well, nice coverage, and you learn U-turn by level up? What is this ludicrousness? That is truly disgusting. How dare you? That's so disgusting. I need something to take the terrible flavor out of my mouth, and the only thing I can think of that will truly wash away the terrible flavor of what I've just seen is, of course, Gamer Subs. Using code Patterrz, you can get caffeine and caffeine-free variations of your favorite beverages, but not only that, you can even get sauce bars, you can get Gamer Soups, you can get merchandise. It's great. Use code Patterrz at Gamer Subs. Links in the description.
Consistency, it is an absolute monster. But of course, this list also wouldn't be complete without talking about Crocodile and Excadrill. Crocodile is an
we love
overall
Croc.
monster with a very early Crunch and later Earthquake. While
Oh, 54 Earthquake? That's what, the Elite Four? I mean, you're running Dig until
it
then,
does
but...
get Intimidate, its biggest claim to fame is its ability Moxie. Every time
Huge.
Crocodile faints a Pokemon, its attack raises by 1, and this makes it an excellent sweeper. And as another powerful ground type, it's often lumped in with Excadrill. And while Excadrill has just 1 base stat point less, it's got more of that min-max energy that Gen 5 was so famous for. Drillbur can be found at the 2nd gym.
It is so weird that it has 110 HP. Like, what were they doing with that 110
It
HP?
evolves 9 levels before the Crook at 31. And I personally find that its base 135 attack from the start of a fight also feels much better than needing to feint a Pokemon to hit that power spike. And while the rest of Excadrill
There's something that feels so good about the catching animation
Fight also
from
feels
Generation
much better than
5.
needing
The way that it wobbles just feels
feint a
good.
Pokemon to hit that power.
It's the way that it goes back and forth and sways just so nicely.
And while the rest of Excadrill stats aren't that impressive, it's its steel typing which makes up for that and more. There's just so many types that it resists that it doesn't really need crazy bulk. It also gets Rock Slide at 29 and Earthquake.
It gets Earthquake at 36? That is ludicrous. All right, I'm on the Excadrill train now. Also, it's a steel type, which is just insane. Why does it get Drill Run at level 55 when it is a literal drill and it gets Earthquake, a just straight up superior move, almost 20 levels previous? That doesn't seem to make much sense. Did they check this before they did it? What was
At 36?
It gets Rock Slide at 29 and Hone Claws. Oh god, that's
Claw
incredible.
helps with inaccurate rock moves, and at 42, it gets Sword Stance. Also, if used properly, its ability Sand Rush, which is the ground type version of Chlorophyll, can be crazy. There
Yeah, who's running sand teams in their playthrough
are
team
a
though?
lot of great Pokemon in Gen 5, but when you factor all this with an incredible matchup across the league, Excadrill is the undisputed champ of Black and White. It's reminiscent
guy.
of Gen 2 Golem, but if its 2 4x weaknesses were swapped with just a bunch of resistances. But what about Unova's sequel, Black and White 2? Well, unlike the
Oh, so we're bringing back Gyarados now.
before it, these games make
Actually, I don't think Gyarados is in this game. Is he?
massive changes to teams and available Pokemon. With that, there are some new faces to compete for the top spot.
Ooh, okay, Metagross is definitely not going to be.
Lucario
Oh,
was introduced in
Lucario.
Gen 4, but didn't see an early enough availability to be considered until now. Riolo can be picked up before the first gym, and it's
Oh, it's insane that you can get Riolu so early. You can have a Lucario before the first gym. You can have a
Fighting
Lucario.
type makes it a great matchup for the very first gym. Lucario also gets amazing coverage throughout the whole game. It's got Ice Punch for Iris, and then Metal Claw, Bone Rush, and Dark Pulse as well. The biggest problem with Lucario is just a lack of a fighting move. It starts with Force Palm, and then you don't learn a better fighting move until level 51. Plus,
To be fair, though, Force Palm is really good. I mean, it has the power chance, it's got 60 base power, so it's not the worst thing in the world, and it also gets stabbed, so it's going to be doing some good damage regardless.
given that Ember overlaps in coverage, there are better possible options. Now, in White 2 exclusively, only on Mondays, you can get a level 25 hidden ability Braviary, but it is only available in White. Now,
Sheer Force,
Excadrill
right?
is once again available in these games, but its encounters come significantly later. It's still got all its great attributes, but you just don't get to use them quite as early. And in Black and White 2, its status as an amazing steel type actually gets contested with Magnezone. Magnemite is an early encounter whose
God, I love Black and White 2's distribution of Pokemon where you can get such cool additions really early on. Like Riolu in the Ranch. Are you kidding me? You can get Growlithe early on in this area too, I believe. You can get Magnemite. You can get so many cool
Gym
things.
fight shows it utterly wall and destroy Roxy, the poison specialist and second gym leader. And from there, it does well against every single gym outside of Clay. Also, by the time you can evolve Magnemite into Magneton, you can then evolve it into Magnezone. Still continues to be amazing in the sequels, and it'll
I totally forgot how you're supposed to evolve it in this game.
Magnezone to just do so much walling while it destroys everything with 130 special on electric and steel.
Wait, is this Balatros? Oh my god, this is Balatros music. I always get distracted in videos when I hear music that I like, and this is freaking Balatro, isn't it?
Moves. And even though it does have a 4x weakness, its sturdy at least prevents it from getting one shot at full health. It resists 11 types with an immunity, can cripple things with Thunder Wave, and is available for almost the whole game. And while it's been great in a few games, it's for these reasons that Magnezone finally earns a title of Best Pokemon in Black and White 2. Now, as
Good
I
job,
went into
Magnezone.
research Gen 6,
All right, well, Xerneas is clearly the best because it's Geomancy.
I was expecting this to be the most clear-cut, easy, obvious answer in the video, because
Wait, really? I mean, you got Gardevoir in this? You've got fairy types? Oh, you have fairy types. So, would it be Gardevoir, though?
anyone that's played X and Y knows how insane Mega Lucario is.
Oh, right. And you get it, like, right at the start of the game, and it has adaptability, and it's a steel type. Yeah, I got it.
Just in case you need a refresh, we'll cover Mega Lucario before we get to its surprising competitor. You can catch Riolu at the start of the game, and it does provide use in the first 2 gyms.
You don't even need to catch it, though. That's the thing. She just gives you one. It's
But you
insane.
don't even need to catch one, because at
Oh, yeah, exactly. Thank you, Smith.
the
Yes.
end of the 3rd gym, you're given a free Lucario, free Mega Ring, and Lucario Mega Stone. Which
That's ridiculous.
puts the concept of like an early Nidoking to utter shame.
And it also completely counters the champion's ace. Omega Gardevoir is just destroyed by a steel type move from Adaptability Mega Lucario.
Lucario alone might have been good enough to make this list, but upon Mega Evolving, it gets a speed boost from 90 to 112, which is not the fastest, but fast enough. And that's what's important. More importantly, its special attack sees plus 25 to 140, and its attack goes all the way up to 145.
This is ludicrous.
The strongest 2 attacking stats we have seen on this list so far, shared on one Pokemon. So with that, Mega Lucario then steamrolls the rest of the game, and it is arguably the most broken non-starter Pokemon in a game ever. But there is another
because of adaptability
talked about Pokemon, which is arguably better. The old Amber can be found in Glittering Cave.
Mega Aerodactyl? No, surely no. Surely thou be jesting. Surely thou been telling Porky Pies, been fibbing to us.
By smashing rocks with a 15% pickup rate before the second gym. It can then be taken immediately to the research facility in Ambret Town to be restored into Aerodactyl. Aerodactyl alone.
Where even is the Aerodactyl
is an incredible
Aerodactylite? Aerodactyte?
Pokemon with massive 130 speed, 2 great offensive typings in Rock and Flying, and a respectable 105 attack. However, the player can actually get its Mega Stone at the time of revival, meaning that its Mega Evolution
why does the scientist have it? Why is he giving it to children? When is this? That gotta be worth like at least 50k.
At the same time as Lucario. This raises its attack to a beautiful 135, while its 150 speed makes it the fastest Pokemon in the entire game. Now,
you just don't even need more speed at that point. You don't need more than 130.
Now, there's no denying the dominance of both sets of starters, Aegislash, even a late game Mega Amph.
Oh, Aegislash. I mean, that is insane.
And while they can fight for the 3rd spot, it's these guys that are 1 and 2. Determining which one is better, however, ended up being a super interesting dive. Mega Lucario gets adaptability, which gives its stab moves an additional 1.3 times boost, making all steel and fighting moves deal 2 times damage instead of the usual 1.5. Aerodactyl gets a similar ability called Tough Claws, which gives all contact moves a 1.3 times boost. This gives its stab flying moves like Wing Attack, Aerial Ace, and Fly effectively the same boost that Lucario's adaptability gets. The drawback is that none of its rock moves get this, as none of them make contact.
Oh, yeah, I guess that kind of sucks, though. That is quite a shame. And you can't really run acrobatics. I don't even think it learns acrobatics. So you're kind of stuck with running Aerial Ace, which is really not that strong of a move when comparing to like Flash Cannon, Aura Sphere, or Close Combat that you get in Lucario, which is not as good.
Fortunately, though, Tough Claws does work for a lot of other moves, like Crunch, which is learned at level 33, and also the 3 Elemental Fang moves, which are learned after the 6th gym. So overall, adaptability gives Lucario a more specialized boost to just 2 types. But given that Steel is never really needed as an offensive move, it's
until you fight the Mega Gardevoir.
Really just boosting fighting. And so I think Aerodactyl's Tough Claw is more useful as it helps make it a more generalized attacker. And this just gives Mega Aerodactyl a huge up. It's super effective against the 2nd gym with Rock, the 3rd and 4th with Flying, the 5th with Rock and Ground, 6th with Ground, 7th with Crunch and Rock, and 8th with Rock. It also destroys Lysander and has great matchups in the E4. It wrecks
Ooh, doesn't Lysander have a Mega Gyarados, though?
Wickstrom and Drasna, and in the Diantha fight has super effective coverage against her first 4 Pokemon.
Damn, that's pretty solid.
Lucario, on the other hand, is a bit more defensive in some fights, but doesn't match up so well against Flying, Grass, Fighting, and the many fire opponents of the region. Lucario wants to run Fighting, Steel, Psychic, and Earthquake, which it does make great use of, obviously, but overall, it just doesn't match up quite as good. And so with all that considered, I would say Mega Aerodactyl is the better choice. The only drawback is that getting Lucario is absolutely free. And while Aerodactyl doesn't take a lot of work to get, it's like, do you really need that extra 5% when Mega Lucario steamrolls the game anyways? Now,
yeah, that's true. X and Y isn't necessarily the hardest games to play, but sometimes you just want to try something a little bit different. I will say I've never used a Mega Aerodactyl in a playthrough before, so that could be fun. Having that as your Mega Evolution. I mean, with X and Y, you can pretty much just sweep the entire game. As soon as you get the Mega Stones, you just click the Mega button and then the A button, and you can essentially just kill everyone because they're not that strong to begin with. But you still
of Mega Pokemon, it's
Mega Glalie.
Probably
It'll never be Mega Glalie. I'm sorry. I love him, but it won't be Mega Glalie.
That there are a lot of amazing picks for Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire. Swampert alone is still incredible.
I mean, it's Mega Blaziken, right? Mega Blaziken is insane. Speed boost? Are you kidding me?
And obviously, its Mega form only takes that up even higher. Mega Blaziken, who was originally just a solid option, also manages to break into the tier of absolutely game-breaking. And even Mega Sceptile is amazing. But today we're not here
Mega Sceptile is also here.
to discuss starters. Now, with the addition of Fairy type, Azumarill finally got the final puzzle piece it needed to become a monster. While it
Huge
is
power.
a worthwhile mention, it is totally outclassed by Swampert, which is not
Oh, that's so sad though, but Fairy type is so
a
good.
problem for Mega Gyarados.
Yeah,
Back with a
baby!
vengeance, just when you least expect him. He's got a new form and is really good. Dark typing's gonna lose the 4 times weakness, and you know, 155 attack is pretty good too. Everything about
And Mold Breaker, so you can spam Earthquake on literally everything apart from Flying
Gen
types.
4 Gyarados, the great moves, physical special split, strong bulk, and intimidate can all once again be applied to Gen 6 Gyarados. Just now you get a Mega Stone after the 5th gym. And of course, this list wouldn't also be complete without Mega Alakazam. Look, I get it. Mega Gardevoir is really good. Unfortunately, Mega Gardevoir does not have 175 special attack.
But if Mega Gardevoir has Pixelate, I mean, right? Doesn't it have Pixelate? I forgot what Mega Gardevoir
Despite
has.
these absurd Pokemon, Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire said, hey, you know what? I think the player needs a little bit more. So here is a
What about Mega Beedrill, guys? Mega Latios.
free Latios or Latias around the 5th gym. And
Yeah, this is insane. I don't know why they did this. In the original games, they were like, you have to beat the entire game, and oh my goodness, there's airplanes flying somewhere. Go find them. And this one's just like, oh, you came to my islands. Yeah, thanks for saving me, I suppose. I have the stone. Do you want Steven Stone? Steven Stone has a stone.
actually, by the time we're getting into the late game, that still might not be enough. So tell you what, here's some Mega Stones for them too. 700 base stat for a pretty considerable chunk of the
Yeah, I mean, that's okay, I guess. Like, it's all right.
I don't know whether it's fair to count legendaries, but they come at a spot that's early enough that I personally would. So without them, it's probably Mega Alakazam, but with them, oh my god, dude. Oras is just a weird game, so let's just move on. As we move into Gen 7, I will give
Okay, so no more Mega Evolutions. It's not just gonna be those.
credit for making a game that at first glance seems really balanced. There's a lot of solid, reliable teammates like Mudsdale, Golisopod, Gyarados, Alakazam,
Gyarados just had to find your way in there again, didn't you, buddy?
Gengar. However, all of these are utterly neutralized by, well, honestly, a technicality. And
Wait, a technicality, what could it possibly be? I don't... Ooh, I'm trying to think of what would be really, really good in this game. Mudsdale is very good, but Gyarados is there. Is
this
Alakazam in
specific
this?
patch of grass on Route 3, there is a one.
Oh, right, yeah. Well, to be okay. It doesn't really come online until level 50, right? I mean, Shelgon is not exactly the magnum opus of mid-evolution dragon types.
% chance to encounter a Bagon. And this is the first instance of us seeing an early pseudo-legendary, but the thing...
Oh, well, I don't know. I'd count Gibble as pretty early, right? Was it Platinum? You can get it like after the 2nd gym. That's kind of early.
For a playthrough of Pokemon is that pseudo-legendaries are actually quite bad. They first of all eat up a ton of XP. It's only their final evolution that's good, which only helps you for like the very end of the game. So please, look, this is just an attempt to reach out to you and invite you into the community of Truth Seers. I promise it's not a cult. It's just people that have accepted that pseudos are not that great in playthroughs.
All right, yeah, no, I completely agree.
in Sun and Moon. Because in Sun and Moon, wild Pokemon use an SOS system where they may call a member of its species for help. For some reason.
Wow. Oh, that's really funny. Wow, my goodness me. That is gracious. That is a Salamence that has disappeared there. That is hilarious.
The developers gave a 1% chance for a low-level Salamence to appear during this Bagon fight. It can be caught, and the odds of it appearing aren't even that bad. So if you use an Adrenaline Orb, bring in a Pokemon with Intimidate, and lower the Bagon to red HP, the Bagon is going to have a 100% chance to call for help each turn. And even without the Adrenaline Orb, which is arguably a later item.
God, I used to do SOS shiny hunting where we just sit here and spam the same items over and over again until a shiny appeared. God, it takes me back.
The rest of that will still get your odds to 65% per turn. And this is doable in the early game. From here, you just need to be able to hold out long enough to get that 1% Salamence to show up and catch it. And while it is rare, it's going to, on average, take about 200 total encounters. 100
God, but it feels so good to get that Salamence though, doesn't it?
The Bagon, 100 for the Salamence. This can be done in a single sit-down. It is a realistic method, it is a viable method, and more importantly, it means we don't have to talk about Gyarados. So, Sun and Moon goes to Salamence.
Let's go!
It is Salamence. And Ultra Sun and Moon are also fortunately quite simple.
Can you do the same thing as well?
The system changes so that Salamence odds are now extremely low and not viable for a playthrough. Hawlucha, however, is easily this game's best Pokemon. Available at level 9.
Wait, whoa, that is a massive difference. That Hawlucha is not even something I considered. It's not even something I would even imagine when it comes to the best Pokemon in the game. I mean, Flying Press is good and all, and it looks cool. Like, it looks pretty sick. But, I mean, we just talked about Salamence. Now we're talking about Hawlucha. Out of all the Pokemon in Ultra Sun and Moon, this is the best one. I mean, I guess you have to factor for how early in the game can you catch it, because obviously something that you get later on isn't going to be that good. So I'm not going to just, like, throw Poipole in there and say, oh, you get Naganadel, like, later on. That's the best one. You get Jangmo later on, because you're essentially done with the game at that point.
At the very start of the game, these stats can just make for an amazing start. Alternatively, though, you can get the trade one a bit later before the normal trial. And this one has a perfect attack stat and gets double XP. Hawlucha is super effective against every totem and Kahuna on the first 2 islands besides Kauai. Super effective against Nanu and resists Hapu's ground. It's also
I thought you just called him cute. Apart from kawaii desu, totemo kawaii desu.
Effective against 2 totems on the 4th island, 2 of the E4 members, Guzma, and 3/5 of Lusamine's team. Now, moving on to our 3rd iteration of Kanto,
Pikachu.
we once again got the usual suspects.
Pikachu,
Alex, and Gyarados are all great, but really an interesting glow-up is seen with Clefable. While great in the original game, Clefable is an exception in Let's Go due to not just its early evolution, but now also getting Fairy type. It's still not the best, though. Overall, I would say that Alakazam is even worse in this game, despite still being great, while Nidoking and Gyarados probably outclass it. And as we move into Generation 8, we see a...
Way! Zacian! Way! Just kidding, it's way too late in the game, but my god, Zacian is ridiculously overpowered. It's a 170 attack with Intrepid Sword and just gets an attack buff. It's ridiculous, it's stupid.
Massive roster from the start of the game. And while there are so many great options and tons of Pokemon you can get early, I think Corviknight is overall one of the best picks.
Corviknight's great. We love Corviknight over here. You know, I love the respect and attention that bird Pokemon are getting in this video.
Learn moves, solid stats is available at the very start of the game. And of course, Flying Steel is amazing. 2 immunities, 8 resistances, amazing. Now, Sword and Shield encounters are, again, a little weird. So you've also got the likes of Gyarados, Aegislash, Gengar, and Darmanitan, which are...
How many times has Gyarados appeared in this video?
Mentioning, but given that I'm going to throw up if I have to talk about Gyarados again, let's just move on to the spot. If the player has purchased DLC, the best Pokemon in Sword and Shield...
Stoneyana. No, it's Kubfu. It's Urshifu. It's Urshifu, isn't it?
Urshifu.
Yeah, I thought so.
It can be obtained before the first gym, and, well... Yeah, I mean, it's so legendary. Technically, you can even get Urshifu at this point, but most people probably won't opt for that, and it doesn't really matter. Players are most likely going to get Urshifu after Gym 3, and now you have a fully evolved legendary before the 4th gym. As you would expect, it goes on to destroy the rest.
DLC power creep is just ridiculous, we know.
And best of all, it makes it so that we once again don't have to talk about Gyarados. Now with that, let's move on to Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl, which I'm sure will definitely not have any DLC that's going to break the game. Right.
No, well, did it have? No, it didn't have any DLC.
So
okay.
Without any game-breaking absurdity, the top picks for Brilliant
Gyarados. Oh, it's gonna be Gyarados.
Shining Pearl. In rough order is probably Magnezone, Togekiss, Snorlax, which comes a bit
Chomp, right?
Earlier,
Chomp.
Gengar of the G-Man, and Infernape up as the top picks. But
really, why don't you, can you get early game Gibble and Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl? Maybe you can't actually. I think it was a platinum thing that let you get it early. One of the games you can get it early, one of the games you can't get it early.
The thing is, Game Freak really likes it when you buy their games, and so if you give them more money, they will once again give you, say it with me, early legendary Pokemon. Mew and Jirachi, available before the 2nd gym. All you have to do is have played Let's Go for Mew.
Would you like to go to the Elite Four with a really overpowered Pokemon? Oh, you would?
And Sword and Shield for Jirachi. You literally don't even need to beat these games just
Jesus Christ, the dialogue in this is terrible. Oh, it looks like you've seen a shining star. Here, take this mythical wish-granting creature. Yeah, I don't fucking want it, I guess. It's kind of like ugly and it like eats all my food, so.
give them money, play the games once, and you are free to steamroll BDSP. And while it is a little bit broken, I do want to take a moment to thank Game Freak for making it so we don't have to once again talk about the G-Man. Now, Legends Arceus is always a bit of a weird pick because people want us to talk about it, but it's not really
Cleavor.
on the same battle system as the other mainline games.
Ah, that doesn't matter. There's still a good
This game
Pokemon
really
here.
tailored for catching Pokemon, not battling, but you guys get mad when we don't discuss it, so sure. And our choice is Ursaring or Ursaluna. Teddy
Oh, yeah, that makes sense.
in the second area of Crimson Mirelands from Ursa's Ring. You can then get Peat Blocks to evolve in this same area a full moon after unlocking the ride Ursaluna during Mission 8. Can you tell I still haven't beaten Legends Arceus? It's got 130
He's writing the script for this like, what do these words mean? I don't understand.
base HP, 105 defense, 80 special defense, and 140 attack. It also gets a 50 attack boost if hit by a status move. I think that's probably guts, but the disadvantages are
it's guts.
tedious to get the evolution item, and it has bad
Oh my god, it is tedious. I was riding around on the ride in Ursaluna for the longest time trying to find a P block so I could do this stupid Pokedex, and all mud, a ball of mud. Oh, Ursaluna's found something. Cool. Dig a hole, ha ha ha. Get it? It's another freaking mud ball!
beat. It's overall what Craig came up with as the best option for Legends Arceus. I don't know, guys. It's a weird game to throw in here, so
I mean, Sneasler is really good though.
let's just move on. Anyways, ladies and gentlemen, this finally brings us to Scarlet and Violet. Now, Annihilate is definitely one great pick. You can get Mankey before the first gym, and Annihilate at 35 when you learn Rage Fist. It's got a solidly spread 535 base
And Rage Fist is ridiculously strong. You just get stronger and stronger and stronger.
with Cross Chop at 22, plus Rage Fist in close combat. Its final form is incredibly solid, but it's a bit of a one
And Ghost Spike's pretty good type.
pony up until then. Now, Garganical is a really interesting Pokemon because
I love Goggle so much.
guarantees you a KO, at least one Pokemon per fight with Salt Cure and Sturdy, even when you're way under-leveled. Its best niche is to ruin every Titan, but it's also very helpful against the Team Star fights. It's not going to sweep gyms as a support mon, but you really only need its second evolution to serve its purpose. Now, Tinkatink is a Fairy Steel type and guaranteed encounter available before the first gym.
God, they're so good.
Ridiculous level up moveset with Metal Claw, Draining Kiss, Brutal Swing, Flash Cannon, Play Rough, Fake Out, Knockoff, and of course, Gigaton Hammer. Its big disadvantage is its middling offensive stats, which is really only made up for though with the 160 power Gigaton Hammer. There's also the Charcadet line. Unevolved, it's got great matchups against the first two gym leaders with
What is truly the best? Is it Ceruledge or is it Armarouge? I've actually never used either of them. In fact, I don't think I've used either of them in like Then We Fight videos or anything like that either. I really just have not touched this evolution line at all.
in grass, and from here, depending on your game, can be evolved into Armarouge and Ceruledge. The former having high defense and special attack with Fire Psychic typing, and the latter being Fire Ghost with high attack and special defense. One gets Fire Close Combat, the other gets an 80 base power healing move. They are incredible. They are available for every fight in the game, they contribute for every fight in the game, and for that reason, they are my pick for the best Pokemon in Scarlet and Violet. Now, in
Sure,
an effort to
that
make
makes-
this
that
video
makes sense.
Still relevant for Generation 10 in like 2026. Hello, 2026 and on viewers. I know this video was a little
Wow,
older,
we're
but I
seeing
was
into the future.
proactive, and I went ahead to see what is the best Pokemon in the Generation 10 game, and
Oh, okay.
I got it. So for you,
Yeah? Is it
I
Gyarados?
actually have an answer. The best Pokemon in Generation 10 is
Gyarados?
Gyarados.
Yeah!
Gyarados.
Woo!
It's Gyarados.
It's always Gyarados. It's always Gyarados. It's always Gyarados. It's always Gyarados. It's always. You ever heard of Gyarados? You ever seen Gyarados before? It's always him. It's always he's the guy. Subscribe to Smith Plays Pokemon, or Gyarados is gonna get you. Subscribe to this channel, or Gyarados is gonna get you if you don't. Gyarados is gonna get you.